insert clever joke slash pop culture slash movie reference. Hey look, you like my Boston accent? You love it, huh? Huh? Ha! Ha! Ted! Well, this isn't Ted, this is Barney the Dinosaur, but... What am I doing? This film is a directorial debut of Seth Macfarlane of Family Guy and American Dad fame, and it stars Mark Wahlberg, Marky Mark, Feel the Vibration, Mila Kunis, Joel McHale, Giovanni Ribisi, and also Seth Macfarlane, who voices the character of the very adorable teddy bear who smokes pot and has an amazing potty mouth. When I think Seth Macfarlane, I think of Family Guy, and I'm not too fond of the show now, but I'm a big fan of the Star Wars spoofs, but I think his time with those shows have passed. And I think it's a perfect time for Seth Macfarlane to move into live-action films. And just like what Judd Apatow did in the mid-2000s with 4-Year-Old Virgin and then going on from there, I think Seth Macfarlane could be the king of comedy in cinema for this decade and beyond. If you didn't take a hint from what I just said, I thought Ted was a hilarious film. Let me get this right off the bat. If you don't like Family Guy humor, if you don't like Seth Macfarlane humor, you might not like this movie. But there is stuff to like from this movie if you don't like Family Guy. Mark Wahlberg as a kid, he doesn't really have much of a childhood and he wants a best friend. And he makes a wish that his teddy bear that he got for Christmas came to life. And so he did. And Ted becomes this famous pop culture icon. And over the years, I guess people just forgot about him and he fades out. And in present-day Boston, you have Mark Wahlberg and this Ted character just as buddies. But Mark Wahlberg has a life now with the amazingly hot Mila Kunis, and she's trying to get him to move on in life. Well, most of the comedy that's great is pop culture references and references to movies, and in particular Flash Gordon, which I never really watched, but I could definitely get behind it, and I still found the jokes with Flash Gordon funny. Now, the only con that comes with basing jokes around movie references and pop culture is that if you don't know what they're talking about, it's a missed joke. If you know what they're talking about and you can relate, it's a hit. There's a nice reference to Indiana Jones' movie, and when it happened, and you also heard the musical cue, inside, I flipped out. The acting was also really surprisingly great. The central story between Mark Wahlberg... What is wrong with my voice? Mark Wahlberg. The central relationship between Mark Wahlberg and Ted, people can relate to that. Even if there's not just Ted, I mean, just a relationship with your best friend or your mother or your father or your sister. It could be anybody. It's just anybody could relate to having a relationship that butts in the way of life sometimes, and it's just really nice to see where it went. And even though the story was kind of predictable with those plot points, it still came together very nicely. Never would I think that this movie would bring emotions out of me, and that just gives it more brownie points. Also, the overall script and the story created by Seth MacFarlane, this world that he created, by the end it was tied together very nicely, no pun intended. Now, I'm not a fan of the whole monkey see, monkey do thing with reviewers and critics, but it really is true. The CGI on Ted is impeccably amazing. I was convinced 100% by all the cast, and especially Mark Wahlberg, that they were talking to this little teddy bear. I mean, you gotta give credit where credit is due, and you gotta give some hand into the directing. You can't just pull out performances like this. Seth MacFarlane had to have talked it over with all the actors in this movie. So overall, Ted is a very solidly executed comedy, and it also has some heart, which is nice. This, for me, is the best comedy of the year so far, ahead of 21 Jump Street. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 stars. So if you've seen Ted, what do you think of Ted? Let me know in the comments below. Also, are you a fan of Family Guy or American Dad, or anything else that's been associated with Seth MacFarlane's work? I'm John from Mothman Jones Reviews. Oh, I love you so much. See you in the next review.
Oh my God.